Right, so in the process of asking what is robotics or trying to answer the question of what is a robot, we actually have a deeper understanding of what we are trying to learn in this module in Introduction to Robotics and why we actually want to study the subject of robotics. So when we try to ask someone what is a robot, or when we ask ourselves what is a robot, perhaps everyone will have a very different image that comes in your mind, or you may have a very different impression about robotics or about how a robot should look like. And this is very true in many of the science fiction movies, animation, or even cartoon. We see that in a Star Wars movie, of course, you can see robot that uh, kind of look like human, and there are also robots that look like machines, and there are even robots that look like both machine and human. Of course, the Japanese also have their way of uh, perceiving how a robot should look like. You see that some of them look sociable, like this Doraemon, and some of them actually look like a fighting machine, like the Gundam. So there are all kinds of robot, and they may exist as different shapes or form. In the case of Transformer, we see um, how science fiction fantasize robot to be. They can be anything, even disguised as all kinds of mechanical machines, car, automobile, aircraft, drones, etc. So we are seeing a lot of different forms and shapes of robot, and even in more relevant uh, futuristic concept of a medical robot like nanobot that can actually go into the bloodstream to treat disease on the blood itself at cellular level. These are all how we perceive robot to be. And in fact, this is not something that is just in the fantasy. There are actual robots that are out there um, serving us every day. Some of you might be familiar with this Roomba vacuum robot, consumer robot that help to clean the room. So it has a specific task that is to vacuum the room, okay, and it work and operate in a specific environment. Okay, so it is kind of like an agent or a machine that carry out certain tasks, program and designed to carry out certain tasks in certain environment. Okay, there are also social robot that interacts with human, and what is more established, some of the industrial manipulator arm. Those are robots that work quietly on the production line without any interaction with human. So most of the time, or in traditional industrial setting, you will see all these manipulator arm working on workpieces isolated from human operator. Okay, so traditionally, some of these robots that we see today are not designed to interact with human or any other uh, living creature in the surrounding. Okay, but this is not very true in recent uh, setting where we see that a lot of collaborative robot actually work alongside with human. So there's also uh, a very drastic change in the way robot present itself in our human world. So we are also seeing surgical robot uh, that operate not on workpieces but on actual human being. But the state of the art surgical robot are still mainly assistive in nature. That means it is not usually autonomous. It is a surgeon who is operating on the patient while the robot assists the surgeon. Okay, we also have a robot that help to uh, do imaging, diagnostic imaging or imaging during operation itself. Um, there are robots that exist as drone, humanoid, etc. So you see all kinds of robot. So basically, robot exists in different shapes and forms. And so why do we need to have this wide variety of robot? The reason is because there are various tasks that robots are designed or programmed to do, and especially they are designed or programmed to work in different environment. Okay, so you have a swimming robot, flying robot, walking robot. You also have a manipulator arm that transport object from one point to another. Okay, you have flexible robot that can go into very different environment. Okay, so if we look at our understanding of a robot or what we observe about the robots around us, we see that to define what a robot is, it kind of consists of three important aspects: the agent, the task, and the environment. Okay, so in this course, of course, the definition of robot or robotic itself may vary um, in different contexts. But in the case of ECE 470, in this course, Introduction to Robotics, we're going to define robot as an agent or a machine that is designed to complete a task or even many tasks while interacting with the environment. Okay, so what you see here is a waiter robot. So it's like an agent or a machine that is built to serve customer. Okay, that is the task, and it's supposed to move around in the restaurant, interacting with humans. Sometimes obstacles, it will have to avoid the obstacles. So this is how robot have to fulfill the goal while interacting with external changes. Okay, so I'm sure many of you have seen this video from Boston Dynamic featuring their um, legged robot, in this case a four-legged robot. Okay, so I'm going to play this video, and I want you to think about how the robot is designed uh, to carry out certain tasks and programs in such a way that it can interact with the environment safely. Okay, you see that this is actually uh, a bipedal robot. Okay, sorry, a quadrupedal robot. That means there are four legs, and there's a manipulator arm uh, on mounted on the chassis. So you see that it has a leg so that it can allow the robot to move in the environment in this kitchen, and the arm will allow him to transport one object to another. So you also see some cameras on it and a grasper, uh, a hand that is holding on to the object. So this is how it carry out the task or interact with the environment. It need to have perception about the environment, and then it need to have actuator that actually act on the environment. So perception can be in the form of vision, like in this case there are uh, cameras to help the robot see what is in the surrounding. And the grasper itself may also have a force sensing capability. It might be something very intuitive, or you have taken this sense of touch for granted. When you pick up something, you know exactly how much strength or the force that you need to grasp that object. Okay, to the robot, this is not something very obvious. You can see that it's transporting glass. If it doesn't apply the right force, it can actually break the object. Okay, so it's like for a human being, we have no problem picking up eggs. So this amount of force to make sure that the egg can be lifted and yet not broken uh, is a form of capability that involve perception of how you feel the uh, contact force of the egg and how you execute your action. Okay, so there's a lot of complicated mechanism involved in executing this task. So understanding them will actually help us better design the robot and even program them to work for us. Okay, so Now that we have a better understanding of what a robot is, or rather establish a formal definition for what a robot is, the next thing is to relate this to our course and see how we can actually study the subject of robotics in terms of the fundamentals, the essential, as well as more advanced applied topic on robotics. So I will actually talk to you on this more in the next segment of the video, and I hope to see you then.